So welcome to another wargame review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a look at a game called War Story, Occupied France, from Osprey Games.
So War Story is kind of the family of and then this one is focused on Occupied France. So that leads us to believe, if this does well, on the market, that they're going to do a War Story blank, whatever that might be.
Boy, I hope so.
Yeah.
So this is...
keep that in mind. You need to buy this because it's very good and very interesting.
And most of Osprey games are pretty reasonably priced.
Yes.
I bought this on Amazon for like $43.
Okay, this is very well produced.
So this is designed by Dave Neal and David Thompson.
The Daves.
Yes, the two Daves. And this is a narrative, choose-your-own-adventure style cooperative game set, obviously, in World War II occupied France.
I want to point out one thing very quickly, though, because when we say choose your own adventure, there are 500 entries in this one mission.
Yes.
And they are all linked in some ways or follow each other in some ways. And the game can be different in every single play.
Yes.
And I think it's important for people to understand you're not just going to play through this once and go, I'll never touch that again. The mission we played had at least two different initiation points. What do you call that? Insertion points.
Yeah.
So we could have chose, I think it was the village, on a boat.
Yeah. And this is not, there's a lot of spoilers.
This isn't
This
a
is the
spoiler.
first thing that you'll do in the first mission, and it's you will either choose to paradrop in or you'll choose to land by boat. And immediately those two things will give you a different game.
Yes.
Immediately. And then within that, so I think of the 500 odd entries, I believe that we did just over 100.
Yeah. So one fifth.
Yeah.
Right? So we could go back and we could kind of remember, we did this and this. Let's go this route or go this way.
Instead of doing
we didn't learn
beginning,
those things.
do this beginning. Yeah. Or even the interaction between any given scenario, you're like, hey, you come across this thing and there's this and this. How much do you commit? What do you commit? Even that decision can have pretty significant ramifications about the paths that you take in the end, and it can have some consequences for however the mission ends.
Well, and then the other point I would say about this whole concept of this choose your own adventure, it is very time-based. So if you spend time seeking out one or two of the different locations you can go to, that is ultimately going to affect what you can do in the future.
Yes.
So if you dawdle too much on the two little farmhouses, you might end up ultimately not having time to go here or to go there or to learn what you could learn.
Yes.
And that was very interesting. To see that play out in the real-time environment of our four-player game, that was very fascinating to me.
The other aspect of it that I really liked, outside of it's really well written and it's just engaging and it's a fun story.
Yeah.
So you play as a gang of SOE operators who land in occupied France, and you're supposed to sneak around.
Supposed to is the operative and key word.
We chose not to. We chose to see just how far we could take it.
Yeah.
And even that, how you play the game, has significant consequences.
Well, isn't that called your alarm level?
Yes.
And if your alarm level is
if you run the
high,
alarm level up, it's bad.
Well, there's real consequences at the end.
It is not good. Don't we did it.
Don't take the pot shot at the guy on the first thing and alarm the whole German operation.
You can do it.
Yeah, but it's not advisable.
But also, if it just again totally different game experience.
Yep.
If you don't do that, if you just
it will be
sneak
different.
around and be quiet, totally different experience. Totally different.
We've played a similar game to this. I say similar, but it's very different. Time Stories. Remember that game from, my gosh, that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's a not war game.
No, you're literally doing investigations, but that game also has that similar thing of choices lead to consequence. Consequence leads to difficulty.
And it's all narrative based.
Yep.
And it's really. I also think about and something that you'll probably see on the channel at some point. Purple Haze from
Yes.
Phalanx. Very, very similar. Totally mechanically very
Yep.
different.
Yep.
But conceptually similarities. Where it's like I'm moving on a patrol through Vietnam, and depending on where I go, or do I choose to go for this objective or this one? Am I trying to find this or scout this? I'm going to read a different paragraph that's going to have great narrative in it, but it's going to face me with a decision. Okay, how do I tackle that? And then what are the consequences based on how well I tackled it?
Yeah.
That then influences what I do after that. All of that they've got in this as well. The game comes with 3 missions.
Yep. And they're like I said, they're books with about 500 entries in each one of them.
Yes, and
They're mission number 1, number 2, and number 3. So it's not.
Yeah, and it is,
know.
and they don't put anything on it. It's mission 1,
Yep.
and then you have your little top secret
Envelope.
mission envelope. The book will tell you in the first paragraph, like, open it up, take
Do
out
this.
the mission briefing,
Yep.
and you're going to read that, and that's going to have instructions to, like, read a paragraph, how to set up your characters, what you're allowed to give and not give, and how to start and things like that. So I can't show you all this stuff.
Yeah.
But in these,
It's so cool.
there is all sorts of different things. And again, we played mission 1. There are stuff we did not get out of the envelope.
Right.
Like, there's just stuff
we didn't
see.
encounter that because we ran out of time or we made other choices.
Yeah, we went to different
Yeah.
places and different things. And
Yep.
there is stuff you'll get in the envelopes. There's like a secret envelope that you get to open.
And this is shaped like certain things in the game. So it's.
yes. You can infer
So you can kind of be like,
things.
oh, that's, which is cool. That's cool, right? You also have some resource tokens, and these are all kind of skill boosts. There's a weapons one. What was this one?
It was like weapons and it was skills.
Skills.
And then this was advantage tokens that you
There
can
you go.
gain from
Yep.
events and things like
But
that.
I mean, you have a certain amount of those. You don't have a bunch of them, so it becomes a choice. Okay, is this skill attempt that important that we need to spend extra points to get us to a higher level? Because we don't have those skills as much as we do some other skills. And you're going to do that, and you're going to want to do it every time, but you don't have enough resources. From time to time, you're going to find a stash of weapons, and you get 3 or 4 more weapon tokens or other things.
Or you might, hey, if we do this extra thing that's a gamble, we picked up advantage tokens, which are a temporary skill boost.
Yep.
Oh, we can use those instead and
Yeah.
preserve our resources. And so it is worth experimenting with and trying to play around with the stuff that the game presents you with. It presents you with it for a reason.
Yeah.
Engage with it. You might notice that my game is unpunched. We played David.
We
Thompson's
played David.
copy of it, but,
So we actually played with David Thompson. David
Yes.
Thompson came over from Ohio. We played this game with him and his friend Tommy. And it was a great experience. We love David.
It was wonderful.
David's a fantastic guy. Very much enjoy his other games. And this was one that we bought our own copy and we're like, we really want to play this. He brought his copy, so we played his. Ours is pristine. But
yeah, it was really interesting talking to him about the design process, how much goes into these, and because I think he also had mentioned that like this was the first time that he's actually played a production copy of the game. Period.
yeah.
And it was the first time in forever that he played Mission 1 because he has you can download from I presume Osprey Games like a prequel mission or like an introductory
There's some kind
mission
of training mission or
that's
something.
like it's much shorter and
Yep.
doesn't have 500 entries. It's only 100 plus.
Yep.
But like you can do that as well. And he's played that as a demo at so many cons that he's like,
yeah.
we got to play this, and he was like,
Oh.
I think I remember what happens at this.
Yeah, yeah,
Or then
yeah.
like some things he's like, I definitely know what happens here, so I'm keeping my mouth
Yeah, yeah,
shut.
which
And, like,
was fun.
we like make decision. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But one comment I wanted to make about these skills and these skill checks, every check is determined by a range, right?
Yes.
And you add up your skills in the area. You might have, I can't remember the skill names. What were they like?
But it might be simply like add up your short range weapon skills.
Yeah.
Within this.
So you add the numbers of you had 7, you look at the bands, 4 to 6 is, the lower one.
Go to this page.
Yeah. Then 7 to 9 is the middle one. And then there's a higher one. So okay, that's probably going to be a worse result than this. And this one is going to be worse than the top one. So you have to make those choices. How much of my resources do I spend to get into the next range?
Yeah,
right?
and like, does this feel like this is worth it?
Like it's important.
And like,
yeah.
Or do we hang on to it? Do we take the middle result?
And we did that quite a few times where we just said, okay, let's just see where this goes. And we didn't. But there's no die rolling.
None.
And I think
not a single die.
that surprised me a little bit because I had done a little research on this, but I don't remember not seeing. So there's no dice.
No.
So everything's determined on your level of skill and your little bonus resources.
And I was also impressed with, because I was like, oh, are we just gonna like spend everything and then kind of just be at the mercy of the squaddies that we chose? That was not the case.
Yeah.
The way that the mission came to a climax, it was full of decision. Like it could not have had more decision at the end within the scope of the mechanics of the game. And I was really impressed with that. That even when it was like, we're running low on resources, there was still so much for us to choose and to do, and again, see the consequences of actions and placement and things like that. It was really, really neat.
One of my favorite parts about these kind of cooperative games is the joint deduction process.
Yeah.
Like you start talking about, okay, why would we go to the cornfield? Well, maybe they have this here and maybe they have that. And you're like, well, that seems ridiculous. I'd rather go to the mine, right? Or whatever it is. Those were not included in the mission. But you have to deduce, okay, what makes the most sense given the information that we have already been given and gleaned from our couple of encounters. And the other thing I very much enjoyed about it was you'll come into contact with a couple of different choices. And the descriptions are pretty clear about what you are seeing, right? I'll give an example. Like you might see somebody that has a certain style of equipment that they own. And you're like, how'd they get that nice equipment? So you start to think, okay, are they collaborators?
Yeah, you can bring your assumed and outside knowledge to the game.
And it doesn't always help.
No.
But it's a unique and interesting...
Sometimes it does.
Yeah, an interesting social experiment as 4 people, we played it 4-player, are debating these things back and forth. And ultimately you kind of have to go, okay, everybody's okay with this one, let's go here. And sometimes you regret that, and sometimes you're like, oh, I knew it. We were... But those kind of things I thought were very interesting, and I know that took a lot. David mentioned that took a lot of thought and detail. I know Dave Neal did a majority of the writing.
Yeah.
David kind of laid out the skeleton, and then Dave kind of filled in the details.
Yeah, he was like the author of...
But that still had to all work together because they all go to each other. Sometimes one entry goes to another, and that entry might go back to another one that's close. And
with that, there is some errata for this game.
Yes, we found a couple.
That you can get on Osprey Games' website. There's not much, but there's like...
One was pretty important, I thought.
Yes, where it's like, it will take you to the wrong section.
So make sure you download that.
Like the game will not be complete. Go on the website and check it out. That is unfortunate, and I think they're all pretty disappointed by that.
Sure.
But that'll be fixed in the next edition of it.
Yeah.
But there's I think there's 1 or 2 entries where it's like, oh. But the other thing I like because I like these games, I like a game that has a story and a written narrative in it, because it's a nice change of pace from playing a hex encounter where it's just moving guys and shooting guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I like reading, and you get like these kind of almost pulpy like stories, and the war story name to me is indicative of what you get from this.
Yes.
Because when we're discussing of like, come to a decision as a group, what we're going to do, you kind of role play at times where you're just like, let's just go for it. It'd be funny, we'll go out and like shoot the place up, or maybe we'll go and like sneak around and like go and like try to find some information somewhere else. Like you can bring some of that like energy and role play aspect to it as well, which is enjoyable. That's hard to get into other kind of big.
Well, I know you often say you get out of these games a lot of what you put in,
and this is definitely the case. But also, what you get out, even if you don't bring a lot, is still really
Yeah.
enjoyable reading and flavor and great
Yeah.
story.
One other thing, there are 8 different characters here. These characters can die.
Yes.
And you don't want that to happen, but sometimes there's going to be no choice.
Oh yeah, sometimes you
did
die.
we lose 2 of our guys? We only lost 1. I was the one
think
that
we lost
I
one.
sacrificed myself to. But you lose that guy, now you don't have their skill set.
They cannot come back. You
Nope,
play
they're
the
gone in a
3 missions
campaign.
as a campaign. They are dead.
Yep.
Already.
So I thought that was kind of cool. There's a bloodied side when they take a wound. Some of their stats change. I thought that was very well done. One of the other things I was just looking, mission book number 1 and 2 have about 500 entries, both of them.
Okay.
This one has 750.
Oh dang.
So number 3 is bigger, more involved. It has 700, not 750, but that's 20%
Yeah.
more. Actually, 40% more. But there's a lot to like in this game. There's a lot to enjoy and explore. We've played 1 of 3 scenarios, but I would say each of these probably, you could equate it to 3 or 4 different scenarios.
Yeah.
Because you can make different choices.
I think I would play each of these missions probably twice, and then I would put it on a shelf for
And
a
then
year,
a couple years, bring
and
it
then
back
you come
up.
back to it.
Yep.
Once you've it's gone out of your memory, and you're like, ooh,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
hopefully they've released the next volume by then.
Right. Or some even mini missions that they might,
But yeah,
put on the website or something.
I can't show you how this plays.
Yeah, that
there's
would-
too many, because so much of it is contained in this, and that it's just spoilerific. But understand that it's like you have cubes to represent actions in tactical spaces.
Pawns represent your guys.
You have like weapons that you can assign to your guys. You have these resources.
You have locations.
Yeah, there's just this big deck, and they have numbers on them, and these are all sorts of things. They're not just locations.
Yeah.
There's just all sorts of things, and in the book I say, hey, pull cards number 12, 15, and 32.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, cool, you pull those, and some of them are locations that you can go to, some of them are things that you can like do and see, and some of them might be other things, I presume, I don't know. So there's just so much, again, within the scope of what this little $40 game is.
Yeah.
It's very, 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 very enjoyable. It's everything that I like in a co-op kind of story game,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's this great little World War II special operations theme.
Yeah.
It's just a fun place to play in.
Well, and Osprey, really, I think they choose their games pretty carefully. More often than not, I think there's only been maybe one of their games that I didn't necessarily enjoy, and that was the Castle roll and move game. What was that called?
Oh, Escape from Colditz or whatever it was?
It was just,
It's
it's roll and move.
That is a
an
slice
old
of pure
style game.
nostalgia
Yeah.
that they redid. For
It just wasn't my favorite.
No, I mean,
it was
it's
enjoyable, but I was like, eh.
That's the kind of game that you like used to play at your grandparents'
Sure.
house after you'd played Candyland.
Games have come a long way since that time.
But it was well produced.
It was, but I think they choose games well. They have good relationship with a couple of designers. David's one of those. This is a very well-made game,
Yeah.
very put together, very enjoyable, particularly if you like cooperative style deduction games. You're going to love this.
Or perfect for solo play.
Yep,
You
you're right.
You always play with 4 guys, regardless of player count.
So you would just play them all.
And it's not
Yep.
like they're each doing things.
No.
It takes a really long time to
Well,
play.
each one will have choices to make, but it's...
But you're just committing guys,
Yeah.
but you're just enjoying the story of
Yep.
your team doing the stuff.
The only other comment I want to make without spoiling things is there is somewhat of a tactical element to this game.
There can be, yes.
We came to a conflict and we literally threw out a little board and there were locations and we had to make choices about where we went based on our abilities, our weapons, our group, the resources we had. And that was fascinating.
Yeah, it was a really neat way of
Yeah.
keeping the game simple and streamlined, and without having to like pull out like ASL.
Yeah. But it does have that decidedly tactical feel at certain points of the game.
Yeah, agreed.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's like all good role playing games, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're role playing and chatting in a tavern, and sometimes you're
Yep.
in the dungeons, swords and boards, right?
Yeah. These are great, though.
But yeah, I look forward to more of this game.
Yep.
I will be playing this also solitaire of just like messing around with
Yeah.
this because it lends itself to that. And you also, it's got the campaign sheet so that you can track and you get the
You have to track too.
Yeah, you on the back you write down the number of which paragraph you're at. We
'Cause you'll
forgot
lose
at
your way.
least 3 times, and
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
oh crap! And you got to look back. And
Yep.
that's miserable. Write it down.
That's why they provide the back of the page.
It's
Yep.
there for you.
Yeah.
But I look forward to more of this. I really enjoyed this. I was like, when it was released and people were playing it, I was very jealous.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley. And this was everything that I had wanted it to be,
Yeah.
and more.
And once again, it was $40.
Yep.
On Amazon, right?
So yes, War Story, Occupied France from Osprey Games. You got to go check this out.
I really hope they end up making not only maybe a couple more missions for this. I could see like an expansion pack where they do 2 or 3 more of these little scenarios. But I know it takes a lot of work.
I know it does, but I know that there's also really skilled people out there who could do this.
Sure.
And I'm like, if you make it, I will buy it for this
Yeah.
series. Like, I think what we experienced was so good that and the price point is much less of a risk than other war games out there, that I would buy these almost sight unseen.
Well, as we were playing, I remember thinking, okay, what are some of the games or topics that War Story Cold War? I want that.
Right?
Bad.
Bridge of Spies.
Yeah, we're just spies running around.
You
That would be amazing.
You could do
Anything.
almost anything.
Yeah, anything.
Like, I want to see like War Stories Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, that would be great.
Come on.
Yeah,
Yes, War Story Occupied France from Osprey. Got to go check this out if this is something you're interested in.
Very good.
Appreciate you for tuning in. I've been Alexander for theplayersaid.com.
and I'm Grant.